episode of TBI Uncovered. I'm your host, Erica Renee, and I'm a TBI survivor looking to change the world one story at a time. TBI Uncovered is the platform that allows both traumatic and brain injury survivors, gunshot survivors, stroke survivors, AVM survivors, survivors of various brain conditions, survivors alike, the disability community, caregivers, medical professionals, organizations, and anyone suffering with brain injuries to share their stories and provide tips plus resources and bring awareness to those impacted. My guest today is very courageous and adventurous. She's a baker of Sunshine Baking, world traveler, adventurous, and cat lover. And as you guessed, she's also a traumatic brain injury survivor. So let's welcome another survivor changing the world, Cynthia Dyke. Hi, Cynthia. How are
Hello.
you?
Good. So nice to meet you.
Yes, you as well. I'm so excited for this interview. So I'd like to first start off by asking you to introduce yourself and tell us your TBI story.
Yeah. So I'm Cynthia Dyke. I'm 29. My 30th birthday is almost coming up. And yeah, oh, it's exciting.
Yes.
And yeah, I had a traumatic brain injury in 2015 due to a motor vehicle accident I was the passenger in.
Mhm.
Yeah, should I talk about that a little bit?
Yes, please.
So I was 23 at the time. I was going camping with a big group of my friends, and we were sort of deciding on what cars to take because we weren't all going to take cars. We were going to carpool together.
Mhm.
And I decided to ride with a friend's girlfriend. I guess I didn't know too well. And at that time, you're just like not thinking of safety. And
Mhm.
especially being so young, I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking to ask her questions like, well, how long have you had your driver's license for?
Mhm.
Are you an experienced driver? So I didn't know, unfortunately, that she just received her driver's license.
Mhm.
She was a brand new driver. And the accident was sort of silly in my mind. Like, I've had a lot of anger about it that I've had to work through,
Mhm.
definitely. Yeah, it just boils down to she wasn't an experienced driver. So we were on a country road because we were going camping, and she sort of went on the dirt curb,
Okay.
and I think that freaked her out. She wasn't expecting
Mhm.
that. And so she overcorrected and sort of
Mhm.
was like on the side of oncoming traffic
Oh
and
wow.
saw cars coming, and then freaked out again, overcorrected again.
Mhm.
And because it was a country road, that it had quite deep ditches.
Oh
And so
yeah.
we flipped in the ditch and hit a telephone pole on the sort of backseat side I was on.
Mhm.
So although she was driving, and my husband actually was in the passenger's front seat, the real impact happened to the back seat, and I was the only one in the back seat. So I sustained a lot of injuries, and I
Wow.
guess luckily they didn't sustain injuries.
Yeah. It's this. It's so. It's funny. It was not funny, but it's so they said they didn't say any injuries, but you did. You were in the back. So when the car hit the telephone post,
Mhm.
did it was the back, was it like kind of like the back kind of hit first or
Yeah, so okay, so I'm in the back seat, and we have a whole bunch of camping gear and
yeah.
luggage and stuff right beside me, and
Mhm.
the car was crushed on the seat beside me in the back. So like right where all our camping gear and everything was, that side of the car was
Mhm.
crushed, and the front of the car wasn't affected as much, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. It's
So yeah, I had lots of injuries from this. Like, I fractured my skull in two places. I
mhm.
obviously had the TBI. My jaw
Mhm.
broke. I needed surgery on my jaw right away, and my wrist broke as well.
Did you have to learn how to talk again, or was it that wasn't affected?
Yeah, I think because I was in a coma. I was in an induced coma for
Mhm.
about a week,
Okay.
due to having the TBI and brain
Yeah.
bleeding and all kinds of things like that. And I guess what I've learned is that mostly anyone waking up from a coma, yeah, sort of has to learn to talk and walk again. But
Mhm.
I think, at least my experience is that my mobility came on a lot sooner than I
Okay.
see with like stroke victims, for
Okay.
instance. Like, it seems to
Gotcha.
me like that's something stroke victims really struggle with. Some people for a very long time,
Yeah.
mobility. I mean, some people's mobility obviously is affected forever,
Yeah.
but walking for me didn't take longer than a few weeks. And I
Okay.
know it takes longer for some people. I know it takes
Mm-hmm.
shorter for some people,
Because
but
I've been on my journey for quite some time, over 10 years. So,
yeah.
and when I say my injury, I had a stroke and I've also had a brain injury from a gunshot wound. So it's like I
Oh
had
my
all these
gosh.
different, yeah. So it wasn't just one thing with me, it was like a several things. And so it's taken me quite a while to bounce back, but it's coming together slowly but surely. But it's definitely bouncing back. So I know what you mean when you said like it takes some people a longer time than some people. Depending on where your brain is affected at. So
Exactly. So I feel incredibly fortunate to
yes,
have the mobility I
yeah,
have, because I
yeah,
know that is not everybody, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you say you experienced some anger. Was it towards the young lady or just the overall situation that happened?
Yeah, I think I've heard other brain injury survivors can relate to having anger
Mm-hmm.
about their injury or how their life has been impacted. So I think it's on two different levels. I think on one level, it's it's just kind of why me, right? Like, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's something a lot of us ask ourselves at different points. Like, I'm angry that it had to happen to me,
Mm-hmm.
that my life has been so impacted. But yeah, on another level, I have felt a lot of anger towards the driver.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been years of sort of working through that and coming to a place where coming to a place of forgiveness, really.
I love that
um,
forgiveness.
Slowly but surely. It's something I'm always working on, and maybe it'll
Mm-hmm.
be something that I am always working on in the future too. But I do think I deserve the peace that comes with
Absolutely.
forgiveness. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's different when I don't think I've heard it before. Forgiveness, and maybe I have, and just don't just break out for a second. But forgiveness is a big piece of it, and it's like when you forgive someone, you let go of all that anger, all that resentment you have towards a person or whoever, whatever happened for the situation. It like you become released, and
Mhm.
it no longer has a hold on you. And so I'm
Mhm.
glad you said forgiveness that you're working on for your forgiveness journey because it's necessary in your for your own mental health. It's necessary for you too. Forgiveness is for you just as much as for the other person. So I'm glad you made note of that. It's very essential piece of the puzzle of learning to come to acceptance and accept the totality of the whole situation at hand. So
It
yeah.
really, really is. So it's a big thing I've been working through.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's definitely worth it to touch on
It
that.
it is. And so how has your mindset changed? How have you learned to shift your mindset after your injury to focus on the more positive side of things?
Yeah, well, it's been really hard. I'll say that. And I'll say that in the first few years of my recovery, I really couldn't get there. I really couldn't really make that change in
Mhm.
perspective, if I'm
Mhm.
completely honest. I was in a very, very bad place for the first two
Mhm.
years. And I really wasn't myself at all. I
Mhm.
couldn't really communicate it then, but
Mhm.
it's like I had these old memories from my old life, but it
Mhm.
didn't really feel like they were mine. Like, it didn't
Mhm.
really feel like those things happened to me. The personal aspect of my
Gotcha.
memories wasn't really there for the first couple of years. And so it was hard to find any positivity or any peace at all, really, during that time. I
Mhm.
think yeah, and I used a lot of coping mechanisms to sort of
Mhm.
soothe myself. Like, I started binge eating and using
Mhm.
food to soothe myself.
Mhm.
I started using cannabis to soothe myself.
Okay.
Um, and so it was quite a long journey, I would say, to start changing my perspective, to start looking at the positive, to
Mhm.
start accepting my injury and my limitations. And I'd say what really helped me do that was therapy, for sure. For
Okay.
sure, doing the hard work in therapy and finding a therapist that I really connected with, that I felt comfortable enough to dive into these deep, deep issues with.
I mean, I've been in therapy myself, so I know how intense it can get and how important it is to have somebody that gets you, that get us not this judgments, or that has a listening ear that can actually have the tools and knowledge to help you. I've been in therapy myself, so I know I'm not in therapy now, but I have gone to therapy, and so it's the best I could have done for myself. So, do you agree? Very, very helpful.
It really is. If there's any survivors out there that are considering it and haven't done it before, or that have tried it and didn't have a good experience, I would say don't write it off. Try another. I tried 2 therapists before I found the one I really connected with. I've talked to other people and they've tried many more, like a handful, before they found someone that was right for them. Right? I think it's like they need to have the right kind of credentials to help you, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Another big one for me that I found out sort of in the learning process was that having someone that identified as the same gender as me was actually really important, more important than I had anticipated. So yeah, I tried seeing a male therapist for a little while, and he had great credentials, and he'd been working with brain injured patients for like 20 years or something. Like he was extremely, extremely qualified, you know? And I don't know, it